It is the first anniversary of the Resident Evil 4 Remake release. A remake that had big shoes to fill after Resident Evil 2 came out and surprised everyone, only to be followed up by Resident Evil 3 Remake, which seemed to disappoint everyone. We all held our breath in suspense on whether or not Capcom would continue the remake trend and move on to the next game in the series, Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is beloved by fans, myself included, and surely Capcom would have to pay the game justice and make it perfect. Well, after a year, how does it hold up? Did Capcom make another classic or butcher the game we all hold dear? Do these games even need remakes? And what is next in the Capcom saga? Leon's story. The story overall remains faithful to the established lore and basic plot of the original game. It does, however, switch some things around and change the tone a bit. Leon in the original is a bit more sassy, quick with one-liners, and doesn't seem to let the stress of the job get to him.
No thanks, bro.
Leon in the remake is stricken with PTSD from the events of Resident Evil 2 and his mandatory government training. He still has his one-liners, but is overall a bit less cheesy than his OG counterpart.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
There is an obvious switch in tone this time around for not only the character developments, but also the world building as a whole. The game feels a bit more dark, heavier, and grounded. The new RE engine definitely helps make it feel more modern, but I think the way the story is delivered, the way the characters interact and behave, and the world building itself are all more grounded, and that leads to more satisfying delivery and gameplay experience.
Quiet type, eh? I'm Luis Serra. Guess you, me, picked the wrongest spot to vacation, eh?
Speaking of the characters, we get some major changes from the original with our supporting cast. Luis is fleshed out a lot more, which I think we can all appreciate. Not only does he survive a bit longer, but we can learn a bit more about him and his backstory. We learn not only did he work for Umbrella, but he was on the team responsible for the Nemesis parasite.
Luis!
Long time no see, rookie.
Major Krauser? What the hell? Why?
Krauser also gets some more development in the remake. We knew that Leon and Krauser worked together in the past, but this game helps deliver on that and is a major arc for Leon to defeat him, whereas in the original, it felt like Krauser was just another boss in Leon's way.
That's right. I trained well. Leon.
Ada is still the cunning spy out to achieve a sample of the virus to bring back to her employer, but of course she doesn't deliver it at the end and sets up complications for what is to come next.
No, Leon. Luis and I had an arrangement. Don't worry, I'll take good care of it.
And Wesker is shown a lot more in the remake than in the original. He actually is on the island at the end of the game, whereas you don't really see him other than on the screen in the original. This and the way Separate Ways ended has some implications for the future plot, but time will tell where that goes.
Oh, Almighty, grant me the strength to crush your enemies.
And to go over the other three major villains real quick, Mendez is fine. I like him a lot in this game, and his formula is mostly the same. There was some speculation that he would serve as a Mr. X villain and follow you around the village, and while that could have been cool, that is not the direction they took, and I'm okay with that.
I thank you for your gift. A most warm welcome to my castle. Such a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance, Mr. Kennedy.
Salazar is kind of nerfed in a remake in my opinion. I like the banter between him and Leon throughout the castle in the original.
Sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
Say whatever you please. Die, you worm!
And that doesn't really shine in this remake. Salazar serves his purpose, but doesn't have the impact that he did. And finally, the ultimate boss, Sadler. I am torn on this one. He is much more culty and sinister in the remake, which fits the tone of the game shifted to. But some will say that has been overdone in other horror games and it feels generic. I want to go as far as to say that myself, but I see the point. Overall, the main bosses all changed to a certain degree to fit the game's more modernized, dark, and grounded tone. I personally think the good outweigh the bad, so I don't have any major complaints.
Renegade! You have forsaken holy body.
I'll give you a holy body.
Separate Ways. When this game shipped, Separate Ways was not a part of it. We all kind of knew it would be coming down the line, just not sure when. About 6 months later, Separate Ways came as a DLC for $10. That isn't all that came with it, as it added some new Mercenaries content, which we will dive into in a bit. A fair price compared to other modern games and the amount of content that came with it. Anyway, Separate Ways changed a lot from the original, and completely for the better. The gameplay experience is much more enjoyable, and there is actual content to sink into for hours. Original Separate Ways was nice in 2005, but was limited by the technology of its time. All 5 chapters would take you maybe an hour to get through depending on the difficulty, and it added some neat things that you wouldn't experience in Leon's game, but it also felt samey. The remake Separate Ways is a fresh experience and digs deeper into the plot and expands on what may come in the future.
Can't stand the clingy type. Time to end this for good.
I won't go too deep into Separate Ways, but I will say my favorite part of the entire campaign is the U3 change to Black Robe. U3 in the original was just a sideline boss that Sadler was throwing at Leon towards the end of the game, and U3 was obviously missing in the remake for Leon, and that upset some people upon release as it seemed to be cut content. In Separate Ways, U3 is actually Salazar's left hand, the Black Robe, and he stalks you through many areas up until the final showdown with him where he reveals his final form, and it's U3. Part of me saw it coming, but the reveal was great and it absolutely made up for his absence in the base story. I prefer it this way actually, and I think it makes more sense for the remake. Overall, Separate Ways was a welcome addition, and it is leaps and bounds over the original Separate Ways from 2005. The Mercenaries. Finally onto the Mercenaries. The formula is a bit different this time around compared to the original and even games like Resident Evil 5 and 6. This time, instead of running until the clock hits 0, you have an amount of enemies you have to eliminate for the stage to end. As a matter of fact, you want to have as much time on the clock when the game ends to maximize your final score. I think this change is nice, as I find it pretty much impossible to run out of time, and the action never dies out. I can't tell you how many times in Resident Evil 4 and 5 I am racking up an impressive combo and the time is getting low, and the enemy spawn rate just can't keep up. That kills the pressure and derails your momentum. I haven't had such a problem in the remake. The game shipped with only 4 characters and 3 stages. Somewhat disappointing considering the vast quantity that Resident Evil 5 and 6 had. I was hoping for a bit more, however, Luis was a welcome addition, so that was nice. Separate Ways was added on to Mercenaries with additional characters in the new dock stage, which is reminiscent of the Water World stage from the original, equipped with the Super Salvador and the aggressive enemies. Ada and Wesker, which were missing from the base release, were added, along with a variant for Leon. Overall, Mercenaries is in a good spot, and I would say it's among my favorites, if not my actual favorite. Final thoughts. Wrapping this up, I think that the Resident Evil 4 Remake is a solid modernization of the original and surpasses it in many ways. Of course, this is no easy feat, as Resident Evil 4 was captivating in 2005 and to this date one of the most influential games of all time. I am not sure if Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to influence another generation of games like its predecessor, but I am certain that it has set the standard for what a remake should be. If Capcom remakes 5 or even 6, let's hope that they take their time and due diligence and keep cooking up what is the golden standard for remakes. Thank you all for watching, and as always, stay tuned for more. I have plenty of Resident Evil 4 content, both remake and original, on the channel, so if you're new here, stay a while and check them out. See you all next time.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?